Such an honor to read in this distinguished company, and I'm so delighted to be part of a community where we recognize each other's work and we follow each other's work over the course of many years, and we share our voices. And tonight I want to share our voices. I'm going to say a poem. It's an anonymous poem, and I'm just going to say it one time, and then you're going to say it after me. You're going to know it by heart after one hearing. Now, I have done this with third graders, Irish drunks, hedge funders, sailors, and others. So I have confidence that this community will support me in this endeavor. The poem is called The Man of Double Deed. There was a man of double deed who sowed his garden full of seed. When the seed began to grow, 'twas like a garden full of snow. When the snow began to fall, like birds it was upon the wall. When the birds began to fly, 'twas like a shipwreck in the sky. When the sky began to crack, 'twas like a stick upon my back. And when my back began to smart, 'twas like a penknife in my heart. And when my heart began to bleed, then I was dead, and dead indeed. There was This is an essay that's forthcoming from, it's part of a book that's forthcoming from the University of Tennessee called Phantom Signs, the Muse in University. And the essay is called The Man of Double Deed. Being childless, my childhood has receded into myth. I must have had parents and schlepped to school and played games and wept and laughed and yawned through Sunday Mass. But what I remember best is rocking in front of the family hi-fi. All afternoon, back and forth I rocked to Father's scratchy Clancy Brother albums. Goddesses and tinkers and book rights and the spirit eels and the hated Sassenach and the hosting of the she all hissed and babbled through the needled grooves. No words, only utterance. On hands and knees, speed adjusted to song, I soared over the streets. My heels kept me from regressing beyond Queens, but I embodied an oceanic voyage, finding in rhythm a charm against time's surge. Rocking in front of the cabinet hi-fi, I first heard The Man of Double Deed. He made no sense. He befuddled all the senses, and he still does. He doubles and twists, and dervishes. His seed becomes snow, becomes birds, becomes ship, becomes stick, becomes knife. When I ask him, why don't I remember any words but yours? The man of double deed croons, like birds forget the words, remember song. I have never seen the man of double deed, but I have heard him many times in my own voice. Let me sing him once, I say, and you'll have him by heart. No one, not the playground of third graders, nor the clutch of drunks, nor the pride of grad students, nor sailors, nor hedge funders, nor inmates, nor rest home dwellers, has ever heard him twice or needed to. No one has failed, after one hearing, to forget everything but the man of double deed. At first they doubt. How can we know him after just one time? Then silence ripples, and the listening approaches the intensity of the moment before a thunderstorm. The man of double deed enters the air. He is here, and beyond, he is heard. Sometimes my arms join in, and fingers peck to sow the seed, and dance in the air as the seed turns to a garden full of snow, and my hands flit like birds upon a wall, and drift up, turning to a shipwreck in the sky, and whip down like a stick upon my back, and finally clench a fist to plunge a penknife in my heart. And I am dead, and dead indeed. But I can't write him down. I might break the spell. I might lose him forever, the way Homer lost utterance when he learned to write. When the famous Homer scholar, Milman Parry, asked an unlettered bard if it was possible to remember a night-long poem after just one hearing, the bard nodded. Word for word? Word for word. The next night the bard spoke the poem, and Parry recorded it and compared it to the night before, and it was the same poem but with completely different words. Like birds, he forgot words, remembered song. But when the bard learned to write, he created an original outside himself and lost the ability to compose. No longer could lines be conceived and spoken in one breath. Time and myth were cleaved. The light was silenced. What's a word if it isn't written down? Until the alphabet locks them down in time, words are breath. They generate themselves. They are like William Matthews' waves, not water, but a force that water welcomes and displays. Because he is not written, the man of double deed welcomes and displays all utterance, including several species of the dead indeed. No one hears the man of double deed the same way, but two things always happen. First, like birds it was upon the wall, changes to, it was like birds upon the wall. And you did that too. I have come to believe that my birds, they of the syntactical inversion, are a late interpolation, crafted by the children of Homer to exploit the dynamics of the alphabet. Acrobats of syntax are Homer's children, sleight of handers who know that the line gains strength by avoiding opening with 3 weak syllables. Homer's progeny love drama, like birds, they say, and for an instant the reader tingles with conflict and possibility. But those who hear the man of double deed just once are not listening to anyone. They are raptured in cadence and the transubstantiation from early snow to late birds. They feel a force that language welcomes and displays. It was like birds upon the wall. The second thing is the shipwreck in the sky. Hear all the voices, the one in the back row and the one drooling on the bar and the one too cool for school and the one who hasn't really heard, all chorus together. I think you guys heard that too. 'Twas like a shipwreck in the sky. Of the 7 images, this is the most striking. When all chime in on the sky shipwreck, I know that although we rock in time with the surf, we still adore the phantasmagorical world. The birds of aural imagination, that's A-U-R-A-L, aural imagination, and the ship of visual imagination are both engaged. The man of double deed lives in both species. There is sound inside the light. In his noble introduction to Fegel's Iliad, Bernard Knox says that each of Homer's dactylic hexameter lines displays the arrangement of the whole poem. Each begins with conflict and possibility and proceeds through variety of sounds to fill the metrical requirements. But each line ends with the same strict pairing of dactyl and spondy. The poem is inside each line, from possibility to finality. By the end of the Iliad, the force of the story has been welcomed and displayed 16,000 times. The man of double deed is not 16,000 lines. He is 14, or so I imagine, since I've never counted. But he has been recited so many times now, that in so many versions, that perhaps he nears 16,000 lines. How many knives have pricked his heart? How many deaths has he suffered, or perhaps forestalled? Once, a surgeon stuck a penknife in my heart, and I was dead, but not indeed. There was sound inside the light. I was wheeled in, and instead of counting down, I recited the man of double deed. He sang that I was dead indeed, which meant I would not be dead, since rhythm is a charm against time's surge. Had I passed completely into myth, I might have recited all of Homer after one hearing. How do you remember all those words? Charon would have asked. Like birds forget the words, remember song. I wasn't dead. I'd have sung, rocking back and forth in my sky shipwreck. I wasn't dead indeed, but I was intubated for an eon and could sing only imaginary songs. So Tuesday evenings, from June till March, birds gathered upon a wall. And since the man of double deed was too short, we migrated all the way from stately plump Buck Mulligan to yes, I said, yes, I will, yes. None was dead indeed, or tranced, or even adept. So we required an outward sign. We needed one printed copy of Ulysses in all its editorially disputed leaves. But because we never saw the man of deed, and because Homer never saw the Iliad, and because Joyce was so blind he could hardly see Sylvia Beach, we shared just the one codex. We sewed the book until it turned to snow. One bird read, then another, while the flock listened. We listened for the sound inside the light. We listened till we heard the force Ulysses welcomes and displays. Every Tuesday night, two things happened. First, Dublin and Ithaca crashed like a shipwreck in the sky. Second, we heard what wasn't written, possibility and conflict yielding to illuminated sound. Yes, I said, yes, I will, yes. Yes, I said, yes, I will, yes. We heard it when it wasn't said. We heard it when it was. It was a thrum beneath each unlineated line. The final dactyl of the Iliad is tamer of horses. In the Odyssey, form and voice. Ulysses' final utterance is yes. With each new version, matter is doubled more fully into sound. One Tuesday night, a form and voice came from beyond the sky-racked dactyls, and I stepped out into the blindfold night, and there she was on the doorstep, sitting on her haunches, Molly Bloom. She regarded me. I regarded her. She was outside human ken until she spoke, the same syllable as her first utterance as Calypso. Meow, she said, and stepped tail high into her name. The closest I come to seeing the man of double deed is when I encounter Molly Bloom at a distance of 10 paces. We regard each other heroically. "What transpires, Molly?" I inquire. Sometimes her ears turn toward the query, and sometimes they do not. Is she farther than my childhood? Farther than Homer? Is she farther than the place I go to hear the man of double deed? For all her fecund lexicon, Molly Bloom's first utterance as Calypso is still the one I hear when I regard our Molly. It is the sound missing from the last word I heard on the operating table. Its absence was the reason I wasn't dead indeed. The surgeon who penknifed Joyce's heart is stately, plump Buck Mulligan. The Greeks, Daedalus, sea and tones. You must read the original. Daedalus trembles. Even the sea in the original is fearsome, snot green, scrotum tightening. But Homer had no original. Ulysses has hundreds of originals. Just ask Derancier, the printer. If you forget the words, remember song, and the world unfolds whole in every line. This is the force welcomed and displayed in the months I came back to life. Humans do not own speech, even when we inscribe it. The page does not define words. Beneath Joyce's sentences are measures. Though he wrote 30,000 different words, each contained what was not written down: the sleep inside the waking, the sound inside the light, the inside the deed. Yes, I said, yes, I will, yes. My childhood is myth, but Molly Bloom continues to take form and voice. She has been Calypso. She has been Penelope. She has been a calico cat. Today, she is a 5-year-old girl. Her name is Maya. I introduced her father to the man of double deed, and he passed him on to his young daughter. She heard him once, knew him right away, and made him hers, word for word. Here is Maya's man of double deed.
Man of double deeds. In his garden, sowing seeds, and the seeds began to grow. It was like a garden full of snow. When the snow began to melt, it was like a ship without a bow. When the ship began to sail, it was like a bird without a tail. When the bird began to fly, it was like an eagle in the sky. When the sky began to roar, it was like a lion at my door. When my door began to crack, it was like a stick upon my back. When my back began to smart, it was like a penknife in my heart. When my heart began to bleed, it was death, death, death indeed. Yay. Can I see it?
Those who fear the man of double deed fear the original. Homer had no original, and Joyce knew no Greek, and Maya has no fear. She has heard the force which the poem welcomes and displays. Her bird has no tail. Her Molly is a lion. She has spun the sound inside the light. She is Maya has released me from the spell. Now I can regard the man of double deed, knowing that this is just one version only now and mine, and no original. Here he is, as he was when I rocked in front of the hi-fi. And please join me. There was a man of double deed who sowed his garden full of seed. When the seed began to grow, 'twas like a garden full of snow. When the snow began to fall, like birds it was upon the wall. When the birds began to fly, 'twas like a shipwreck in the sky. When the sky began to crack, 'twas like a stick upon my back. And when my back began to smart, 'twas like a penknife in my heart. And when my heart began to bleed, then I was dead, I'm dead indeed. Now close your eyes and rock and meet him yourself.